Sarah and I met on Twitter, so we had a lot to say about Elon Musk now owning the site. This is an excerpt of this week's bonus episode available to subscribers on our Patreon. Thank you. And don't forget to vote.
We have elections coming next week. And after those elections, there undoubtedly will be violence. There's going to be debate, to put it generously. There's going to be mini versions of January 6th and of the months beforehand, where, various losers, and I'll be surprised, honestly, if this happens on the Democratic side, like a claim that they actually won that then leads to violence. I would be surprised if it led to violence. On the Republican side, they see January 6th as a model. And the only thing wrong with it is that Trump left. That's the only thing that they don't like about it. So they want to replicate that because, of course, Merrick Garland didn't punish anybody up at the top. They feel like they can get away with it. One of the things that was effective, at least initially, in showing people how pre-planned and not organic and horrific the rolling coup and the attack were in 2020 and 2021 was Twitter. It's the fact that we were all able to, in real time, observe it happening and track when we realized things were happening and announce it to the public. They wanted to bait people. They wanted to bait the left into going there on January 6th and having a brawl. But people, they knew that this was the setup. And so they restrained. Like, how did they find out that information? Often through Twitter. It was at least one key vector. And so what Musk and his backers seek to do is destroy that nexus of information, the way that people who oppose autocracy and mafia state rule, the way that we share information and gather together. Like, yes, they want to spy on us, and that's why people are fleeing, but they also just want to redirect the algorithm, which is something I think has already happened, and prevent people from documenting things in real time and make all of the evidence very, much more debatable than it is when you have a time-stamped chronology. Like, I cannot emphasize how damaging to autocracy a time-stamped chronology is. That is why they destroy history while they attempt to destroy the future. The two go hand in hand. And so they're going to try to do that, which is why, you've got to stick it out for the next few weeks. At the least, just write down what you're observing. Make sure there's some way that is timestamped. I genuinely think this is valuable. People sometimes ask me for solutions, and there never is an easy solution to encroaching autocracy. But I've said from the very beginning, from that essay I wrote back in November 2016, write this down. Write down what happens, because you need to be able to look back and see how it changes, see how you change within it, and see who knew what and when, and what people said they were going to do, and then what they did. Then you can figure out motivation, then you can strategize, then you can plan for the future, then you can fight. You have a much better chance of winning this battle the more information you have. And so, it's a risk, but I would encourage you for at least the next few weeks, as all of these elections are decided, to stick it out and fight and observe and at least understand the apparatus that we are in. Because, you can exit Twitter. You're not going to be able to exit the effect that his purchase of it is going to have on American political life.
Sarah's right. Fuck them. We're staying. It's always been a cesspool, and we're going to get through it together. And I think it's awesome that people are being defiant, being like, fuck you, take my blue check mark.
Exactly.
and like leave it as like a douchebag symbol, because that's who's going to.
I just have to say one thing, which is like, I've never understood this with the blue check mark. Like, oh no, we don't get money, right? Like, all you do is you get, people can't imitate you as effectively. Like, I'm glad I have this check mark because people have imitated me in the past. They've set up fake accounts, that said one was a porn site, one said all sorts of terrible things. So that's the value. And of course, there's even more importance, I think, in the check mark for institutions. If we had, for example, a functioning public health apparatus, which we don't, it would be very important to know that this is like the real CDC as opposed to a fake CDC. Since the CDC is terrible, I'm not sure it matters as much. You know what I'm saying? You don't want like a fake the White House account. You don't want a fake Secretary of State account, saying they're going to go drop some nukes. Like you don't want you need to know who is actually saying things because they will be replicating people like hundreds and hundreds for the most powerful celebrities and political figures and whatnot. There will be hundreds of Hillary Clintons and hundreds of Donald Trumps, and it's going to be a mess. But it's not like I don't know, like the whole when people associate it with some kind of prestige. Again, I am back to like who gives a shit? Like a lot of my favorite accounts on Twitter are just genuinely smart, interesting, creative, independent minded thinkers that sometimes have a low following and they're just there to exchange ideas. And I like them because they're them, because of the content. And I feel like if we abandon this idea that there's some sort of prestige in this, that this is something, that should be beyond just one, sharing ideas, and two, as Andrea said, allowing independent minded people to sustain themselves financially through outside means, through being able to, share links to their work, to being able to promote their independently done work so that they don't have to join corporate media. Like those are two great, areas of value. But my Lord, put the blue check assumptions aside, it is not very exciting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's going to be really just like with Trump, the unintended consequences of Trump with the fascist coming to power and the backlash. I'm looking forward to staying on Twitter to see the backlash. And
It's building already, which is good,
yeah,
honestly. Like it's
yeah,
kind of a relief after the last few years where there's been so much fractiousness. Like we all agree on this, you know?
exactly. And I think it's funny because Elon Musk, yes, he shared some batshit crazy conspiracy theory about Pelosi's husband being in some love affair, gay, naked, sex party orgies, QAnon Central, right? And then he was forced to delete it because he was politely, coolly fact checked by journalists and he deleted it. And so basically, Elon Musk paid $44 billion to be fact checked. And if that's going to continue, I look forward to seeing that. And so we have now a fact checking site, a community fact checking site of some of the most influential shit posters in the world. We're just going to be fact checking these assholes. And that's going to be
Which is
fun.
what we were doing anyway. It's just
Right.
one more asshole bought the
But
site.
well, yeah, it's what we were doing anyway, except they paid a shit ton of money to be fact checked. Um,
Yeah.
and so,
I
but
feel like very welcome to my nightmare. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Like everyone who's like, oh my God, there's like evil, crazy people running around threatening me and I don't feel safe here. I'm being spied on. I'm like, uh-huh. Either I go, the algorithm isn't working. My tweets
yeah,
are going through. I'm like, uh-huh. Yeah, that's for some of us that's the whole experience. But
yeah. And
anyway.
I want to just close this part of our discussion by saying, like, well, what's the end game? What do they all want? They want the White House. They're starting
Mm-hmm.
early. They're going to get DeSantis or some other Trumpian figure elected in 2024. And the financing structure of the deal, just a quick overview. It's mostly Elon Musk, his money, his debt. Saudi Arabia appears to be the second largest financier. There is a Russian link, but that's a fraction of the overall price that was paid in this deal. But it doesn't matter because Saudi Arabia and Russia are one and the same. They're such close allies that both want to bring down the US. It's practically the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, you have Saudi Arabian money that was building up Fox News all those years, was an investor in Fox News, and look at what that has done to our country. Thank God for Senator Chris Murphy, who is calling on the Committee on Foreign Investment, which reviews acquisition of U.S. businesses by foreign buyers, to look into the Twitter deal for national security implications given Saudi Arabia's involvement in the financing. And again, where Saudi Arabia is, you can find Russia. And Russia is openly threatening us with war, including nuclear war. So hopefully this investigation goes through. Hopefully it has some teeth. The sad part about our government, as we keep pointing out since the start of Gaslit Nation, is that it's not enough to have the most powerful military in the world by far. You also have to have strong government at home protecting domestic issues and strengthening the people here at home. Public schools, investing in free higher education, investing in strong healthcare, investing in the minds of its citizens, keeping them safe. And that includes antitrust laws to break up big tech. That includes reform. That includes government intervention into stopping deals like this before they go through. And unfortunately, the US government, which prides itself and pats itself on the back for having won the first Cold War and having done so essentially militarily, but through a big old arms spending spree that helped bankrupt the Soviets, they don't understand that you do have to have strong social programs. And no, it's not socialist to do that. It makes you a more resilient country. And this whole idea that the US government would step in and stop the Twitter deal from going through would have caused a lot of pearl clutching at the Wall Street Journal editorial board and beyond, and in all the saunas of New York City and Washington, D.C., where all these white men gather. And it would have been, seen as AOC socialism, and Fox News would be showing Stalin breadlines on TV. But the reality is that we need to normalize having a strong social safety net at home if we're going to withstand the threat of fascism. Fascism thrives with economic uncertainty, inequality, and we're there now. We're there now. If you look at the countries that are leading the world right now and standing up to Putin's fascism, it's the Nordic countries, it's the Nordic nations where they take care of homeless people, where they pay for housing homeless people, and they consider that an important part of their state budget. Here at home, what's the end game of Elon Musk and Twitter? Look at the PayPal mafia in Silicon Valley, the libertarian mafia, where these guys who made a bunch of money during the internet revolution now want to destroy the ideals of the internet revolution, something I began with at the start of this discussion.